Thank you so much, Mansi. Thank you for the introduction. It's really great to be here. And thank you all the panelists to join the session. We all know, right? I mean, deep tech is being termed as the fourth wave of innovation. Now that innovation or that wave is gaining the momentum, right? And deep tech really transforms the way the world will work, right? And for that, we have got an interesting mix of companies today who are coming from different sectors, building deep tech companies from India, but competing with the players globally. So I would like to start with Sneh from Miko, right? Just to give us a brief about what the company does, right? And then we'll move on to the other panelists.
Hi everyone. My name is Sneh. I represent Miko as its CEO. Miko is a global consumer robotics company. We make Miko robots that engage, educate, and entertain kids. These robots operate as a content on subscription hardware platform that create magical experiences for young minds. Eager to meet everyone and take more questions going forward.
Perfect. Shakradhar, if you can just explain like how the singularity works.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Chakradhar. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Singularity Automation. We are a 5-year-old company based out of Bangalore. We work in the IoT space. I think it was 2016 when we started with a basic smart lock solution for the co-living space. We have been able to quickly capture the whole market with almost all the major players in the market being our clients now. We recently have launched a new product, Smart Access Control, under a brand Secure Pass. We are seeing superb traction in commercial and residential spaces now. And the core success, what we feel we have found is by designing the product specifically for the Indian market, while focusing on the price sensitivity and the business challenges which are prevalent here. We really feel that the market is ripe for penetration of IT technologies, and we are soon going to see an explosion of more solutions in this space. Thank you.
Perfect. As Chakradhar is building an IoT startup, we have Bhaskar here from Trilbit, who is working on creating Internet of Sound. So Bhaskar, I mean, please if you can explain like what Trilbit is all about.
Sure. So hi everyone, happy to be here. My name is Bhaskar, CEO and co-founder of Trilbit. At Trilbit, we are building what we call the Internet of Sound. Essentially, our technology converts any speaker into a data transmitter and any device with a microphone into a data receiver. And with this, we can do any kind of authentication, secure and seamlessly without the need for any additional hardware. So just the microphones and speakers that are already present in all these devices become a conduit for secure data transfer.
Thanks, Bhaskar. Gaurav, you are building a company which will power the future of work. Would love to hear from you how does the Super Pro perform?
Thanks, Nile. Great to be here in this panel. At SuperPro, I'm the CEO and founder of SuperPro. What we are building is a future of work powered by future of video communication. So we have taken a video-first communication approach, and we are aiming to be the default communication and data platform for Indian organizations. Here, the context is that India is the world's second largest online market, and in next 25 years, India will become #2 economy. But we still, if we count the top 10 apps or the 4 communication apps, none are Indian. And we strongly believe this is not going to continue. There are going to be strong Indian alternatives, and we are aiming to be the one.
Thanks, Gaurav. We all are like fascinated by the deep tech companies, right? But like we all have this question, like how building a deep tech company, is it easy? Is it difficult? Right? So I would like to start with Sneh from Miko, right? You are building a hardware company in a deep tech segment. Would love to hear like how the journey has been, like how the last 3-4 years has been. What were some of the barriers that you were able to overcome, and what's the status of it?
I think the most important aspect is we are a 6-year-old business, and having rolled out 2 successful hardware products so far and a third one coming soon right now. So we've been through that journey multiple times and honed and improved it over the years. A typical hardware product takes nearly 2 years to build, right from minimum 2 years, from a whiteboard concept to the final product coming in your hand. And throughout that process, you need a lot of patient capital You need a lot of conviction at the early stages to go to the right problem, because once your hardware product is out, unless it's a software controlled device which can be improved over a period of time, that's the plane is set off, and that's where you are after the hardware is done. It comes with its pros and cons. Pure software companies with scale, the problems keep increasing, but with a hardware company with scale, you can sit back and relax that, okay, fine, my initial hard work is done, and now I need to just focus on the scaling part and the business part of it. So, but having learned that, so when we started Miko, it was a brand new concept. A companion robot in India was very unheard of. The concept required almost 14 plus different disciplines to come together and work on it. So because it was so niche, it was very easy to attract talent, because almost everyone was either building an app or a mobile phone or a website in 2015. And we were saying we'll build a companion robot that will be with the child and roam around. So it's very easy to attract some of the best talent globally. We had Russians to Americans to Israelis coming together, working with us and on the concept that we were trying to build. Initially, unless and until your first invoice is raised, until then, getting capital for something like this is not easy at all. And it's when you're purely on 2 years on what your conviction is. So so friends and families and then gradually angel investors. But venture capital money is not comes in after you typically come in with some business and some traction around that. So once the product came out and you've shown successful scale and you've demonstrated product market fit, then there is sky is the limit. You will get access to capital, you will get access to different markets, and most important aspect is in deep tech, because there's a lot of patient capital involved. You need to ensure that what the founder is committing, those milestones are hit year on year, quarter on quarter, and throughout. Once investors and once your employees to your investors, everyone sees that you're exactly on those milestones, it becomes, things start falling in place, and you are pretty much onto that. If you otherwise, it can go in either directions like this.
Okay. And Bhaskar, you are building a product with a very unique proposition, right? So what are some of the fundamental principles you believe that a company needs to keep in mind, right, while building a company which is like this kind of unique and disrupting?
Right. So one of the things that building a platform technology like we have is that it needs to work in all different kinds of ecosystems. You have Android, you have iOS, embedded, and so on. So I think one of the fundamental challenges in the beginning for us has been, and which we have been focusing on, is on a standardization of the technology to work on different platforms. Because the power of our technology is that, for example, NFC works only in about 40% devices in India, right? 40% phones. But that's taking that technology that works on 80% to 100% is not so easy. And so our fundamental has been, or for any kind of platform technology, is that you cannot work with even with 90%, where it will work with 90%, because that will always create a barrier for your clients who's thinking, will it work for every device? So that has been one of the principles for us, has been that one, that it's extremely seamless, both for the user as well as for the customer who is implementing this technology into their products, but also that it works across the platforms and across different hardware, software, as well as a UI UX platform. So that has been the fundamental in the first half of our company. And the second half, what we found was that it's very important to have not just a horizontal technology that is seamless or that is accepted by a number of platforms, but also that we have vertical integration into solution, into building like a product which is which solves the challenges of the customer, and not just a technology that we give it to them saying that this is technology, maybe you can use it. Instead of that, we have been trying to focus on a vertical product that is just like a plug and play, almost like a low code solution for any, say, anyone who is building a hardware device, an app, or even a web page to just integrate this into their solution. So there has been like two different principles that we focus in the first half of our journey, when we were actually trying to build the technology, and the second half when we are trying more focused on commercialization. And the first was horizontal integration, and now we are more trying to make a vertical product.
Okay, so like you mentioned about low code, right? And SuperPro, you are building, Gaurav, you are building a product which is like combining a no code or a low code solution with the future of work, right? So how do you see this? Like, how do you plan on building a company wherein you are betting that how we all will work, right? I mean, a year back, we all used to work from office. Now we are all here working from home, right? How do you combine, like, what kind of like a combination of technology which is required to build a solution which will be used by a large number of people, not just in India, but all over the world?
So here, what we see are two very defining trends here. So one, that if we look back in the history and in historical context, communication as a technology, has always been enabler. And in history, in human civilization, wherever a new form of communication has emerged, or the communication coverage has increased, it has led to innovation all across, and it has led to altogether a different period of economic growth. We can look at all such communication technologies, right? Now we see we are entering into a phase where video communication itself is not going to be restricted just to technology, at a communication level. If you look at what happened with telephony, right? Mobile, telecom, mobile, landline to mobile, and now then, that gave rise to smartphones. If there was no mobility, right, there would not have been any smartphones, correct? And that's what we see with video communication. It has already become, to an extent, it is what we call, it's a gateway technology. Right. So video communication will become as seamless and as simple as internet itself, wherein now we already see the users which are coming now online, for them internet is video. Right. They do not use search. They really don't. They don't use browsing. There is no browsing behavior, right? And that's what we see, that video communication as a gateway technology, it simply becomes, okay, there are just two scenarios. Right. You are talking to people, so you are delivering services, you are consuming services. Second, you are talking to bots, you're talking to machines. And that is how simple it is going to be. And that is where we see that everything will come together. And again, from a data and AI perspective, right? AI needs data, right? So AI is electricity and data is the oil to power it. But that is where communication also plays a role, because the data that's being generated around communication, that is what enables AI at scale. So this is what we see, that fundamentally the way we work is going to transform. People have accepted that it is going to be hybrid, but what we see really is it's going to be hybrid in a different form. That hybrid is not about in person and work from home or work from office. No, it's going to be hybrid, working with humans and working with machines, working with bots, wherein we are going to see automation to a all different level. Wherein right now, when automation is still technically challenging for a layman, for an average user, we are going to see that it's going to be ultra seamless for everybody.
Right. So, Shakradhar, I'll come back to you, but just a point from Gaurav. Like, I mean, we communicate with bots. And Snehi, you are also building products wherein, like, you are building products for kids, wherein earlier they used to maybe interact with maybe their friends or something else, but now they have this option to interact with a robot, right? So, how do you see this? I mean, do you see this change or in this behavior, which will be accepted overall globally? How do you see this growth?
So I think we do not see Miko as a replacement for any human relationship in the life of a child. It's not a replacement for friends, teachers, families, and so on. We see our society is incomplete. And we feel robots and humans can coexist, and we're trying to complete the society. So that's how we look at things, and where we see a mobile robot that roams around and acts as a technology interface to the child and giving the child access to any form of technology outcome that is a new magical experience for learning and development of the child, where the child could engage, educate, and entertain from. In that direction, we do not see it replacing any friend per se. So we've seen very good adoption across 140 plus countries. Today, kids are using it. Generally, kids typically drop off their attentions very quickly with any new thing that comes in their life. Within 3-4 days, they stop using it and so on. But now with Miko, we are seeing adoptions almost a year plus after purchase, 15 hours per user per month, pretty heavy engagement on the device. And so that itself enforces that the adoption in the child and in the entire family of the element of technology has come out very well.
Yeah, I think this is a very, kind of a wrong assumption that like robots might replace human beings. But as you correctly said, that it's not like a substitute for any other human being, but like a complementary part, right? Like benefit the kids.
Correct.
Chakra, we're coming to you. You are building a solution around security and automation for shared spaces, right? Would love to know from you, the journey of the idea. Was it more of like a personal experience, or maybe something that you have seen around and then you started working on it?
Yeah, so actually, as you said, right, so when we started, it was a smart lock solution for the co-living industry. It was a first-hand experience which we had. It was a pretty bad experience which we had. We were searching for houses, as is the case with most of the people, bachelors living in cities. And at that time, Nestaway was one of the companies which was offering houses on a shared basis for people. And we were stuck in the entrance of a house because someone had misplaced the key in their ops team, and we had to wait for a couple of hours. And that's when we saw right through it that, this is a problem which needs to be fixed. And we quickly came up with a prototype, and we showed it to them. Fortunately for us, they were also looking at a similar solution because they were facing the same problem. And we quickly are able to deploy it across 100 locations, do the prototype testing, and then scale to almost 5,000 locations across Nestaway. That was one of our first clients and the biggest clients we had. And coming to the overall market, what we have seen is that the market has been dominated by traditional players. The security market, at least which we have been, it is pretty fragmented by traditional players who are just getting products from other countries, rebranding, white labeling them, and selling them off. We see that there's no product expertise in the company as such. So that's where we feel that we'll be able to disrupt this industry. With product expertise in the company as a core DNA, we feel that the overall experience which we'll be able to provide will be far superior to what they have been doing. This is what we have been able to achieve also. Yeah.
I'll take a point from Sneh, which he mentioned earlier about patient capital required for a hardware company, right? But would love to know thoughts from other panelists also, like how the investors' interest has been, right? In last 2-3 years, and what is the change in the outlook that you are currently seeing? Which has, as Mansi also mentioned, that the increase is investment is from $15 million in 2016 to $60 million in 2020, right? So what is the change in the outlook that you are seeing, right? Bhaskar, would love to know from you, like how's the investor outlook has been changed over the years?
So I think there's a big change in terms of investor outlook, because what we have seen recently, and especially in DeepTech, and now even we are seeing that there is a lot of interest in similar allied deep tech. Blockchain is one example, where the investors are not just looking into a fixed model, let's say SaaS or a cookie cutter approach, where there is a successful thing that's going on in US and it would be really good to have it in India or somewhere else, but looking more deeply into the ecosystem and understanding what's what essentially the idea for or the core of DeepTech is that you're building something new, you're building something from scratch, and hence the risk appetite is not just a market or execution risk, right? So there is a tech risk, there is a market risk, and of course, with all startups, there is some execution risk. And what we think is that as the ecosystem is maturing, investors are not just looking for or getting excited about players which have no execution or technology risk, but we think that there is more confidence of betting on founders to even overcome like technology risk, which is associated with deep tech, or thinking more deeply about the market risk, or how a completely new field can open up a new market or consolidate an existing market. So I think with the investor confidence, and as we see more and more success of these deep tech companies, I think there'll be more of confidence from the investor in taking bets, and taking bets that would bet for founders to overcome these technological risk and market risks too, not just execution risk.
Right. Chakra, are there any other points to add here, like to what Bhaskar said, what you would have seen, right, in terms of investor outlook?
Yeah. So one thing we are seeing is that there's probably a slight difference between the deep tech and probably hardware-based companies inside deep tech. One thing what we feel is, especially in the hardware game, you need a lot of patience. Probably the investors also need to, as Sneh said, right? It takes almost a couple of years to just have a single iteration of the product, and that's the amount of patience. Now, right now we are seeing there are unicorns in 21 months, 20 months, probably a couple of years. So with that, I think slightly there is a change in mindset, but I feel there is still a way to go. There's some distance to go by the investors, where especially in the hardware deep tech space, given there's a huge focus on R&D, it will take some time, and there's a need for patient capital going forward. Although with the success of some recent stories and companies like Zworks and all coming up, helping with the hardware game overall in the market, right? We see that the outlook is definitely improvising, and more investors are willing to take that risk and willing to take that long-term risk and bet on companies.
And Gaurav, hardware, we have got the overview. Like, how about the software company, or a company like yours, which is creating an online platform? How's the investor outlook in that segment?
This segment has seen a lot of action in last 18 months. I think the pandemic time itself, and as a company which got born post the lockdown itself, we really see, and worldwide we see the trend. I mean, there have been unicorns already in this segment in a short time. So we see that, yes, around communication and video communication in particular, leading to data platforms. So we see continued interest, and given that players like Zoom, they have already shown that they are not restricted to video communication. They've already expanded to adjacent space. There are rumors around Zoom launching a complete product suite and a lot more products already. So we see that the interest is very strong in this segment already.
Okay. Just want to understand from all of you guys, right? What's the plan for next 4 to 5 years? For the next 4 to 5 years, like what's the ambition? How do you see the overall market coming up in coming years, right? And how do you see your company, like what kind of role it will be playing? Sneh, starting from you.
So we are entering into almost 10 million plus homes over the next 5 years, with Miko becoming the first medium of tech in the life of a child, to the point where Miko could actually play the role of a teacher at home. Just whatever the teacher has taught to you in the classroom, Miko could actually take a revision of that in its full sense and be a solid aid in your academic journey, to your overall journey in your childhood. That's the kind of vision for the technology, as well as for the Miko pipeline of series. As Miko as a company, we are a we'll be having multiple more verticals of robotic products for different categories and TGs that will come out. They'll all leverage robotics and AI and solving certain unmet supply chain, and definitely a solid an IPO friendly organization.
Okay. Bhaskar, what's the next? How does the next 4 to 5 years look for Drillbed, and how does the entire market would grow?
Yeah. So I think that it's very exciting time for the segment that we are in. Like we have been hearing that IoT is the future, and IoT is a growing market. There's no question about that. And now everyone is convinced that voice is the next feature, next trend. Every device now is coming with voice enabled. So the trend just for 2022, there will be like 2 billion devices with Amazon Alexa or Google Siri built in. So that's 1/4 of the world's population will have. So the number of devices which will have these inbuilt will be about 1/4 of the world's population. And in 2022, about 4 billion microphones will be embedded in devices. So this is the right market in terms of the explosion of the voice enabled and voice control devices that we are going to see. Now, Trillbit is in a unique position because yes, we are not doing voice enabled, but we are opening the next door for voice enabled services. An example is, like you cannot do financial transaction on these voice bots or say Siri, Google Home, and so on, because in India you need multi-factor authentication. In Europe you have PSD2 compliance, which restrict or try to secure your transactions. And Trillbit is the only way in which these devices can have a secure transaction without worrying about things like deepfake or government compliance or RBI compliance and so on. And so we are in a very exciting segment, and it's really exciting time to be in this space. Video is one for sure, like Gaurav said, and the other one is voice. And we'll see voice in every device that you can imagine. We are already seeing it even in like toasters and coffee makers, which traditionally we don't see.
And Bhaskar, you mentioned one important point about compliance, right? How important do you think maybe like compliances or regulations, right, in your segment, which needs to be changed for like maybe this entire market to be exploded?
Right. So there are so the government is and regulators are rightly thinking about some of the things to protect the consumers, and in terms of like cybersecurity, because we have seen like camera footage leaking off from a big segment in even like which traditionally should be secure, like prisons in US or living homes in Singapore. In the other, the financial sector, people have been more cautious, especially in India and in Europe. With RBI giving certain directions, and Europe has to. In US, they have been less so because people are more secure about what you see is top-down approach, wherein any fraud, the consumer is not liable for that fraud, and hence it's more open. But having said that, these cybersecurity incidences can kill the whole sector itself. Like, you have one fraud, you use voice command to do a transaction. And if that had a fraud, then essentially that would stop you from using it next time, or at least you would wait and see what's happening. So I think like it's very critical, and it's actually the government regulations should not be looked at as like a barrier, but more like an enabler, because once you have a secure system, then that enables the whole sector to grow rather than having no regulation and problems with that. So we see it as positive. And I think like it will actually help the sector in terms of both cybersecurity as well as user convenience.
Right. And from cybersecurity, Chakrathar, moving to you, you're working for the physical security in like a physical space, right? Like what's your ambition? Like what's your plan for next 4 to 5 years? How do you see the overall segment exploding?
Yeah. One of the things which I mentioned earlier, right? So one thing which we see is the physical security market, especially in India. That's a very fragmented market, right? So there are a lot of small players who are getting products haphazard way and then wiring things up in God knows which way. And these are the things which are controlling the actual physical entrances of premises, which is a very big deal. And that's one of the most important places where people are looking to be secured. So with this is what we have seen that in whichever solution we are building, security is one of the most important aspects. Where even when we are interacting with the clients, even if they are most of them, let's say IT companies, the first thing they inquire about is what kind of security are you guys using? What kind of protocols are you guys using to secure it? What are the different types of attacks? What could happen? We are seeing increasing interest from clients also in the security space, which is a positive sign for us because we have spent that effort in securing our products to all these kind of against these attacks. And one thing what we feel is in the coming years, the physical security is going to get more and more important in the daily lives of people. And this is where I think IoT will play a crucial role in bringing this change into this segment.
And Gaurav, I mean, you are building a company which will decide how we'll work in the future, right? So what's your plan for next 4 to 5 years, and what other use cases that you see like for SuperPro, right? Wherein you are will explode in next 4 to 5 years.
Yes. So in next 4 to 5 years, what we see already happening in terms of deep tech, it's always said that today's deep tech is tomorrow's consumer tech, and historically we have always seen that be it in US or in India now it's picking up that investments in deep tech are always strategic, from a government perspective, because they see that it's not just the tech in the short term that is being built, but it will lead to a lot more things in future. So that's what we see for us. Again, given the geopolitical environment, we already see a big push from government for everything made in India, and communication being of strategic importance. Yeah, we already see. So we have been speaking to people in government, in different ministries, even in agencies, different security agencies, defense, military, and so on. Unanimous feedback and most unanimous say that is being said. It's very clear. The data needs to be in India, and when it comes to communication, it is absolute importance that everything should remain in India, and Indian organizations, not just government organizations, but all Indian organizations need to have complete control over it. And that is where we see that once at the scale of 1 billion online users, right, we see that yes, if we have to transcend these barriers of language and so on in India, at least, video communication is going to play the most important role because then you really don't get trapped in the typing of different languages, and that is a key challenge that everybody is facing, beyond the first 50 million users in India. So that is what we see. It's going to happen, and where we see being there that reaching the goal of 500 million users in next 4 to 5 years, and being the default communication and data platform for Indian organizations, and being the trusted partners for Indian government organizations when it comes to communication and data. So that's what we are aiming at.
Just one point which I think I'll ask all of you would be, how do you find talent, or how do you attract talent, right? Because as you correctly mentioned that it's a patient capital, so like it will take time to go beyond the point, right? So how do you attract talent to come towards working something which will actually transform the world, right? The way we work, right? The way we communicate, the way we'll maybe interact, the way we'll authenticate, right? So how do you find that talent? Starting from you.
So basically, I think if the challenge that you are solving is very niche and there are which has a very very unique approach to it, I don't think identifying and attracting talent is ever going to be challenging. We've had an ex-Apple industrial designer work with us closely during the first generation of Miko when we were building that at the nascent stage of 2016, and at the same time, like multinational talent, multi-ethnicities, diverse talent coming on board and working hands-on with you has never been a challenge for us. Typically, those guys who've come back from the US, they've masters and PhDs who probably want to come back to stay with the family. A place like Miko becomes very attractive because no one else is doing the kind of work that we are doing pretty much. So therefore, thankfully, that part of it has been very very smooth so far from the entire aspect, and that is not so challenging at all. And we've had very senior leadership team members taking a fair haircut and joining at very early stages with us, just because of the quality of the problem that you're after.
Right. Shakradhar, Gaurav, in very short, like if you could also help us understand, like how do you find the talent?
So for us, I think it probably has been slightly different from what Sneh was saying, probably due to the stage at which we are as a company, right? So one thing we have seen is in India, at least, coming to the hardware and the embedded side, there is a scarcity in talent, especially in the mid to senior positions. So we have had a pretty hard time finding people. And again, at the lower positions, it's slightly easier. You can groom people who are coming right out of college. Because what we are seeing is whoever are graduating, right, especially from electronics and electrical, most of them are finally settling on some software, eventually going towards the software side. And when that happens at the later stages in their career, we are not able to find many people who are in this domain, right? Although that being said, I mean, the excitement of working in a startup, we have seen some people sway their decision who are working in bigger corporations also. But overall, we feel there is a scarcity in talent, and there is definitely a need for grooming more people towards in that direction, especially in the IoT and the hardware domain.
Sure. Bhaskar, any point to add here?
Yes, definitely. I agree with Chakra that it has been hard. It's easier in India to get good talent, but at a more fresh out of college or more fresher, but getting like really world-class talent, which we are trying to go after, especially in DeepTech, is harder. We have, and there are great things too. There are people who have joined us leaving Samsung, Qualcomm, at much lower salaries because they believe in the problem. So there is that too. But like Sneh was saying, so there is a lot of that, and you have to be out there and educating people about what you're trying to build and how that's great, and there'll be people joining you. But you can only depend on the generosity and of their generosity and your marketing ability to a certain extent. The market, there's huge lack of talent, so much so that actually so our office is in Cambridge, Boston, and I'm here, and it's much easier actually to get talent here. We have been able to get really world-class talent much easily here than in India. Well, of course, the salary level is different, but it's not. But the ratio, like the standard market salary, the premium that you have to pay from a standard market salary, a US market salary, is actually much less than what you would pay in India. There are other aspects too, because in India we have not seen, I think as the ecosystem is maturing, we'll see more, but we're not seeing a huge number of smaller exits. So a lot of early stage, when talent joins early stage, they tend to discount the equity, which is not there in US, and they give much more credence or much more value to equity. That helps too. But I think that is definitely a huge thing for DeepTech and hardware companies in India, is to finding quality talent, because that's how you build world-class companies. There's no other way.
Perfect. Gaurav, final comments from your end.
Yes, for me, always my past startup as well, it's always been the problem statement. Even in Innoplexis was able to build a stellar team just because of the problem statement, and because people believed that yes, It's not the IBMs of the world who are going to win in this race. Yeah. And even now, for us, the problem statement is simple. Yeah, we are going against Zoom head on. So yes, if you believe that yes, it can be done and it needs to be done, and now we have expanded that yes, it's a made in India platform. So people who believe it, they'll join irrespective. And we see surprisingly actually that at a senior level there is a lot more interest. Yeah, and people are actually helping us without even asking for salary. They are consulting us, and they said no, we can figure out the money later. So we see that yes, the mission matters.
Wow. That's really important, and then that's a great note to end this session on. Thank you so much, everyone. I think this was a great session.